I have your Menches, I have your morons, I have the neighborhood dog barking. It's all kicking off on the Israel Brief with me, Rolene Marks. So guys, welcome to it. If you're new to it, hello, I'm Rolene Marks. This is the Israel Brief, where you guys join me every Monday to Thursday for a look at those top stories making headlines in Israel. The headlines you're not going to see in the mainstream media, the headlines you're not going to see in the newspapers that seem to have agendas against us, but you're going to get it right here. As always, I take your audience questions, and because it's Thursday, I bring you your choices of Menches and morons of the week. As always, we are brought to you in partnership with these guys, Lay of the Land. And guys, it is day 769 since the 7th of October. We are counting those days until all of our hostages are returned safely to us. These are the remains of dead hostages. We want them to be able to be laid to rest with dignity so that their families have closure and a place to weep. And Israel is preparing to say goodbye to Joshua Molel, the Tanzanian national whose body was returned last week, who was murdered on the 7th of October. His body will be repatriated back to Tanzania next week, and the government have called on Israelis to pay their last respects at the airport before it goes. Now, there are still 4 hostages whose remains are held captive in Gaza. We want them all home now. Before I get into the top stories, I just want to make a note that the first story does contain content of a sexual nature. It will be triggering for some people, so please, if you're triggered by news of sexual violence, please fast forward the first couple of minutes. Former hostages Keith and Aviva Siegel have given testimony at the UN Commission on Torture. The 2 former hostages spoke yesterday. Aviva shared her story of how she lost 10 kilograms in 51 days after being starved, how their human rights were denied or taken from them. They couldn't do even basic things like talk at times or even hug each other. They were routinely starved and beaten. Aviva spoke about how she was personally moved 33 times in 51 days. She also spoke of being a witness to sexual violence committed against some of the younger female hostages, including one female hostage who was taken by one of their captors to shower and came back trembling. She told Aviva they made her shower. They made her perform oral sex on one of the Hamas terrorists, and they touched her everywhere. One of the other female hostages, who was just 16 years old at the time, who had never been naked in front of anybody, was forced to strip in front of Hamas while they sat and watched her shower. Keith also shared of his time in nearly 500 days of captivity, being beaten, routinely starved, and how he witnessed the torture of a female captive who they tried to get a admission that she was a soldier, something that she denied. He spoke about how they held her down and threatened to kill her by holding a pistol to her head, and how to torture her, they pressed an iron rod into her forehead. I know these details are very, very traumatic to hear, but it is important. We cannot forget who we are dealing with in the Gaza Strip. Hamas still control the Gaza Strip. We want to put an end to that as soon as possible. And we can't forget what they did to our hostages and what started this war on the 7th of October. Meanwhile, Palestinian Islamic Jihad have said that they have located the remains of another hostage, this time in the city of Khan Yunis, and they will return them to Israel tonight. What will happen is that Red Cross representatives will go into the Gaza Strip. They will receive the coffin of the deceased hostage, hand it over to the IDF at a separate meeting point, and then it will be brought into Israel, where it will go to the Abu Kabir or Shura Institute for forensic testing. Now, earlier today, the Israel police, the IDF, and the Shin Bet announced that they had thwarted a major Hamas terrorist cell in Bethlehem. Several units, including the Duvdevan, the Etzion Brigade, and Lotar, conducted 15 different activities across Judea and Samaria. They arrested 40 members of the cell, and they found that the weapons were ready. They planned to carry out a shooting attack imminently. Among the weapons were various kinds of munition, various kinds of armaments, including an M16. Now, it has been quite a remarkable week for Israel diplomatically, opening a new embassy, our president making 2 state visits to the DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, and Zambia. But it has also been a record week of investment in Israel, with the tech sector raising up to, or over rather, $800 million in a series of major deals this week, as it comes with a surge of investor confidence in Israel. The companies that raised this were companies like Armis, Wonderful, and Sweet Security, which shows that interest in Israeli cybersecurity tech and AI is as high as ever. Now, last week, Standard & Poor's raised Israel's credit rating from negative to stable on the backs of the ceasefire. And also the shekel is gaining against the dollar and all major currencies. And finally, good news for many, many Israelis, as Morocco and Israel agree to resume direct flights between Tel Aviv and Morocco. This will be the first time since the 7th of October direct flights have resumed. And over 1 million Israelis trace their roots back to Morocco. So this is very, very exciting news. So guys, those are your top stories. Let's take a look at your audience question. And it comes from Ronald in New York, who says, Ro, could you recommend 2 books about October the 7th? Easy peasy, Ronald. I highly recommend Eli Sharabi's book, Hostage. It is a New York Times bestseller. I think it's even at number 1. I really, really recommend everybody buys that book and gets an indication of what our hostages have endured, his personal story, his remarkable resilience. And the other is a book, I forget who the authors are. In fact, I'm going to do a search quickly here. It's a book called One Day in October. It's a collection of 40 stories. I'm just doing a search here for you guys. It's 40 stories of different people on October the 7th. It's their personal stories. Okay, I found it. It's by Yair Agmom and Shlomo Zaks, and you can find it on Amazon or wherever you buy your books. And it really is remarkable. You meet 40 heroes, some still alive, some who unfortunately did not survive the day. But it's really a truly, truly remarkable book about the people, the victims, and the survivors of that Black Day. So if you're looking for books, those are 2 that I highly recommend. Another is called Testimonies Without Boundaries. It is raw testimony. It is profoundly, profoundly difficult to read, but it is an absolute must read. And now for your Menches and your morons. So I'm going to go through your choices of morons. And I have one choice of moron coming from the audience today, and it is Jeremy Corbyn, who was removed from the Labour Party. He has started his own party in the UK called Your Party, and his platforms are not security or tax or or employment or anything. His party says they stand in direct opposition to Zionism. Now, what is Zionism? Zionism is the right of the Jewish people to self-determination in our ancient and ancestral home, the land of Israel, and it is our right to have a state of our own and the right of Israel to exist. So basically, Jeremy Corbyn's party is anti-Semitic. And my choice of moron of the week is John Cleese. Yes, the comedian who I think has absolutely lost the plot. His X feed in the last couple of weeks has been like a trip through Nazi propaganda. He has been retweeting quotes that are completely debunked, information that is unverified. He has been retweeting from some of the worst propagandists who are known propagandists whose claims have been routinely debunked. And on Veterans Day, he posted a picture of the US president laying a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier and called it the tomb of the unknown loser. And whatever your opinions about the US president are, they're none of my business. I'm not an American. But when you insult our veterans, our servicemen, the people who defend us, who paid the ultimate sacrifice, you are a particular piece of... You can fill in the blanks. And now for our Menches. We have a repeat member of our Mensch list, and that is President Herzog. President Herzog, for the way he conducts himself during this time, for being the consummate diplomat, even when he has to deal with counterparts from around the world, and for representing us so magnificently in Africa. I have President Trump for his letter to President Herzog seeking a pardon for Prime Minister Netanyahu. That is one of our viewers' choices. We have the Golden family. I couldn't agree more, for their absolute Herculean fight to bring Hadar back home. Hadar was returned earlier this week and has been laid to rest. The extraordinary Golden family, and the way they fought tooth and nail all around the planet to raise awareness about Hadar and the other hostages, and to bring him home. Just incredible. Douglas Murray, absolutely Douglas Murray, for not just being the voice of reason, but also, in my opinion, a prophet. And my choice of Mensch of the week is Colonel Avichai Adrai. He is the head spokesperson, the head IDF Arabic spokesperson. For 30 years, he has been our voice to the Arab population in Gaza, in Lebanon, in the region, here in Israel. He has held this position magnificently with such dignity, communicating Israel's messages in these last 2 years, calling on Palestinians, Lebanese and other civilians to move away from the combat zones. He's done it with compassion, with empathy, and he is retiring. And we salute you, Colonel Adrai. You have been nothing less than magnificent. So that's it from me for today, guys. Don't forget, if you're looking for some reading material this weekend, please check out our website at www.layoftheland.online. Our YouTube channel is right here at the Israel Brief. If you like our content, please consider clicking on the subscribe button, like it, share it. We're on Instagram at Rolene_Marks, on Facebook at Lottle's site, on YouTube at Lay of the Land 5. Guys, end of the week, I'm so forgetful. On LinkedIn at Rolene Marks, and on Substack at Rolene Marks. So guys, have a wonderful weekend. Shabbat Shalom. And if you're on Facebook, pop us a Shabbat Shalom message and see where in the country we are in our message tomorrow. Bye guys. Have a great weekend.